What's up? It's your boy Carcino here. Let's talk about it. This is Michael Jordan. We continuing once again. Michael versus the two Jerrys. Now, when Michael Jordan was drafted to the Chicago Bulls, he thought the Chicago Bulls, this is a family, and I'm going to prove to them I'm worth the money. He didn't get paid a lot from them, but he wanted to prove he could play this game and that they were comfortable in making the selection of Michael Jordan. So his whole rookie season, he just wanted to prove he belonged. Now, he clearly didn't know as much about the game as Dr. J, because when he was young, the NBA wasn't even broadcast on television in North Carolina. They could only get the ABA. So he was only gonna watch and only get to see Dr. J and David Thompson and all those guys. So those were his heroes. So he grew up idolizing Dr. J, and when he played against Doc, he could never really perform against Doc in that manner because Doc was who he looked up to. He idolized Doc. So when he came in the game, that was it. And Jerry Krause was like one of his people he looked up to when he first got signed. And that was all he knew. He wanted to prove to them, I belong. The Bulls, Jerry Reinsdorf, Jerry Krause, general manager and owner. One uses other to prevent from being, they play good guy, bad guy, or good cop, bad cop. Sinuses. They play good cop, bad cop over and over again to see which one's going to bend, fold, break, the whole nine. So with this process going on, in the second season of Michael Jordan's career, Michael Jordan injures his foot, fractures his foot. And when he does that, the whole NBA shifted. Everything changed. Everything changed. They told him, go get evaluated. No big deal. Not a problem. He went and got an evaluation and found out his foot, it was supposed to be 4 weeks. Maybe he'll be back by the All-Star break. All-Star break run around and they reevaluate his foot and the bone has not healed. So Michael is depressed because he wants to get back on the court, get his legs back, and he wants to play. So he goes back home to his mom and dad and just cried in his room because he wanted to play so bad. So he's got this boot on and he was making the games, but he wants to play so bad and he is not healing. So he went and saw a bone specialist. And as he's working with the bone specialist, they're telling him, Michael, you need to go and do this. This is the approach I would take if I was you, Michael. This is, listen to the team, because Jerry was looking like, okay, look, if our record is bad enough, we can get a lottery pick. You know, Michael's down. Let's just tank the rest of the season, basically. So, meanwhile, Michael Jordan is ready to get somewhere back repaired and fused. So, after wearing that hard cast, he convinced the doctor to give him an air cast. So, he started wearing an air cast instead of the hard one. So, now Michael's in that cast. He's able to move around a little bit. And it was hard for him to walk for a little bit. So John Hefferson, I think that's who he was, the orthopedic surgeon, had to do an evaluation. And sorry about that. You know, and they said his navicular bone in his left foot is broken. And he didn't know what a navicular bone was. So it didn't even show up on the x-ray. So he just knew he couldn't walk on his left foot, and he didn't understand why. So they did like another CAT scan to show the bone, and it's like in layers, and it detected the break. So when he thought he could come back, they were like, just take it easy. You know, just go on, take it easy. Don't rush back. Next season, you come back healthy. Mike wasn't thinking next season. Mike's thinking, I need to get back on the court right now. So Mike went back to North Carolina, where he was still trying to finish his classes because he was going to graduate from college, no matter what. So he started training, doing the rehabilitation process. So the Bulls had the orthopedic surgeons, and Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf, which was really Jerry Reinsdorf, didn't want him to play still. So he had a late night meeting with the doctors on a speakerphone. Nobody wanted to be the one to tell Michael Jordan not to play. So they just say, right now, we just don't think it's safe for you. So he went back to North Carolina and started playing anyway. Like, screw y'all, I'm going to play. So he started playing. He was shooting baskets for like a couple of days on some light 101s. Then he started moving to 2-on-2s, then full court games. And in 4 weeks, he had played himself back into shape. The bone was healed. Then, you know, after all of this going on, and nobody knew a thing about it. That was the thing. The next time he came back to the doctors couldn't believe the results of the strength test. Michael Jordan's left leg was stronger than his right leg. So when they had another meeting in the same office, Reinsdorf, Jerry Krause, they all sat down at the round table. Before anybody could say a word, Michael Jordan was like, I don't want there to be no confusion. So he went into a briefcase, he pulled out a tape recorder and set it in the middle of the table and said, once again, the doctors backed off. Dr. Stan said, oh, well, there's a 10% chance that he could break the bone again. And that's all Reinsdorf and Krause wanted to hear. He's like, well, look, the team is lousy, okay? And we're thinking about a lottery pick. Now, they were careful not to say those exact words, but they might as well have written it on their face, because that's exactly how they said it. Like, you know, wording it differently, but that's what they meant. And they were like, look, we're not taking a chance, Michael. What are you thinking? He's like, I'm thinking there's a 90% chance I won't break it again. But I knew those guys had a completely different reason for wanting to do it. So Michael Jordan just broke it out in front of him, like, y'all trying to lose games so y'all can get a better draft pick. And then Cross jumped up and was like, this was right around the time, remember when, I mean, you guys probably wouldn't remember, but in the 80s, there was a big thing with Tylenol, and they had a big lawsuit going on with some of the capsules had cyanide in the capsules. My cousin is one of the people who died. Yvonne, she died from taking Tylenol, and some of it had cyanide in it. And she took some Tylenol and died. So this was going on in the 80s. So I know exactly what was going on at this time. A lot of you guys didn't know, you know, it affected a lot of people, and especially in the Chicagoland area. But, you know, he came up there and said, Michael, what if I gave you 10 pills in a bottle and I said one of those pills is coated with cyanide? Would you reach in the bottle and take the risk of grabbing the wrong pill? And Michael Jordan was like, man, you know, that's a heck of an analogy. But it depends on how bad the headache is. Reinsdorf wanted 100% guarantee that he wasn't going to break his foot. He's like, but I don't have a 100% chance of remaining healthy when I broke the bone in the first place. Besides, if I did break the bone, there's plenty of time for surgery before training camp. If I didn't get, you know, if I didn't test the foot now and it broke later on, then, you know, I'd rather do it now than lose another season. But I was in this, you know, battle all by myself. You know, even Falk was on their side, which is his agent. Everybody was worried about Michael Jordan, the golden money child, you know, this superstar kid in the second year of his career, bringing in all this revenue. They worried about their investment. And he's worried about, you know, life. But at the end of the night, you know, he wants to play. So at the end of the whole long discussion, Reinsdorf and Krause agreed to let Michael practice at full speed, but they limited his game time to 7 minutes every half. So he could practice 2 hours a day, but he couldn't only play more than 7 minutes. These were the same guys who called him the greatest practice player they have ever seen. But Reinsdorf and Krause made this ridiculous rule to increase his playing time by a minute per half each game. It should have been the most embarrassing thing for the NBA at that time. But, hey, they were playing at Indiana and they was down like, I think, 31 points? I mean, no, they were down by one with like 30 seconds or something like that. And they took Michael Jordan out the game. And everybody in the stadium went crazy, booing the coach and everything. But what they didn't know is Stan Albeck was the coach. They told Stan, if you play Michael Jordan 1 minute too long, you will be fired. So he had to pull Mike. So now his minutes are done. And if 2 seconds clicked off the clock, then my time was rounded up to another minute, you know. So Stan took him out, and Michael was ticked. He's over there fuming. Now, John Paxson hit the game-winning shot, but that was beside the point. And at that point, Michael Jordan's relationship with Jerry Krause was forever changed and definitely damaged with him and Reinsdorf. Now, taking Michael Jordan out of the game when it's time for a game-winning opportunity, he don't take kindly to that. Trying to watch his minutes. in that situation. You don't, it's 30 seconds to go in the game. You let Michael take that shot. By taking that opportunity away from Michael, Jerry Krause had made an enemy for life. And he told him everything he needed to know. That Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf are not sportsmen. They're businessmen. And it just so happened that business, basketball was that business. But they didn't have an appreciation for the game. And that was the problem. They don't. And that's still true to this day. They don't appreciate the game of basketball. To them, it's a business. Now, Jerry and Michael this is just the start of Krause and Michael Jordan's playing career and how they dealt with one another. Now, over the years, Jerry Krause has made decisions, and as other teams are getting stronger, Michael Jordan's like, hey, Jerry's got to start making some moves so that we could be able to contend, because, we're losing games that we could actually win if, we go out and get some players. So Michael is seeing all these players get picked up that he's like, man, this guy was available. Why we couldn't grab him? So he goes to Jerry and tell Jerry, hey, we need to grab this guy. He's available. He wants to play with the Bulls, and he's like, cool, Mike, I'll come over there and help you guys out. It was a lot of players like that coming to Michael saying, man, I want to play with you. So Mike was excited. They had all these guys wanting to come play. And Jerry Krause would not let Michael Jordan have any player he wanted. And with Danny Ainge being available and all these other talented players, and they wouldn't make a decision to pull the trigger, and the losing to Detroit in the playoffs, and watching the Pistons get Mark Aguirre, and they're like, man, Adrian Dantley, like, we could have used Adrian Dantley on the team. We could have used the Danny Ainge. Why are we losing out to these guys? How are these guys getting all these players and we're not? He's like, we could have used Danny Ainge because of his toughness. He played with Larry over there in Boston. We need tough guys. And he's thinking, we need a physical presence because, that's why he loved Oakley, because Oak commanded respect. But this is what they wanted to get done. They could have had Ron Harper years ago. Years ago. They didn't want to budge. They were being cheap. They didn't want to come off the price. None of that stuff. So Mike kept asking, and Jerry kept blowing him off as if he was a player who hadn't earned the right to ask to get personnel. And then Jerry was like, Michael, he told David Falk, tell Michael his job is on the court. My job is off it. So Mike was ticked and was like, if Isaiah Thomas can tell the owner, Bill Davison, and go over to GM and say, hey, I want Mark Aguirre on the Detroit Pistons, you mean to tell me Michael Jordan can't get one player on the team? And he wanted Rod Higgins. Rod Higgins was his friend. Rod Higgins was the player he wanted. He was very affordable. And they was like, okay. They told him, okay, Rod Higgins, we checked him out. He's a very good player. He's affordable. He wants to come to the Bulls. The Bulls supposed to contact him and everything. And Michael had told Rod, oh yeah, they're gonna get you. And this is what really did it for Michael Jordan. And this was in the 1991 season, in the offseason. After they had just won 7 games with Detroit, Michael had told Rod, "You're going to be a Chicago Bull." Falk was told this by Jerry Krause that, yeah, it's looking like it's a closed deal. They're going to get it done. It's right in their price range. And next thing you know, 3 days later in the newspaper, it reads, Chicago Bulls signed Cliff Livingston to a contract worth this, and this. Cliff Livingston from the Atlanta Hawks. Once this was done, Michael Jordan almost bust a blood vessel. And the reason why Michael Jordan almost bust a blood vessel, and he went off. Michael Jordan was throwing stuff, breaking stuff. He was mad and couldn't believe it. He was trying to get to David Falk, saying he wants to talk to Jerry Krause face to face. Jerry would not meet with Michael. So Michael basically said and talked about retiring. Like, I don't know how long I'm gonna keep doing this, man. I can't keep losing like this in the playoffs. Michael talked about retiring. He was that mad because they did not get Rod Higgins. They got Cliff Livingston. And the Bulls lost like the first 2 games of the season. Michael was angry. And come to find out, Cliff Livingston was what they needed. More than Rod Higgins, the actual system that they were running, and with Cliff Livingston coming off the bench, his energy level is what the Bulls actually needed. So Krause was actually correct in making that decision. Rod Higgins, as good as he was as a scorer, Rod Higgins wasn't physical. He didn't have that emotional drive, and he wouldn't have done off the bench what Cliff Livingston did. Cliff Livingston was a spark. He fired up the team. He kept the bench going. He grabbed rebounds. He battled. This was what Livingston brought to the table. They called him good news. And Michael had to basically say, hey, you made the right decision. And he did that quite a few times. They won the championship, so all was forgiven. Michael got his first championship. So all of that was forgiven, and it went out of the window. And yet again, Michael and Jerry would have their problems. And now most of his problems are with Jerry Krause, but Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause, they don't disagree. They're businessmen. They understand Jerry Krause know he works for Jerry Reinsdorf. So it's their job to keep this thing going. Now, the pressure would have been on Jerry Krause to be fired had they lost that year. But since they won, it was like Michael Jordan kept Jerry Krause hired, the person he didn't really want. Now, the same thing, this kind of cross in with another story with Cartwright. And we'll go into that too. But they've had this with Oakley and Cartwright because Michael Jordan and Oakley, they buddies for life. And Jerry Krause traded him without even consulting with Michael and brought in Bill Cartwright, who was an aging veteran. And it's like, we're going to get rid of our biggest enforcer. So he was really upset about that at first. And him and Bill, they didn't really gel right away. But Michael, once again, said that was the greatest thing that happened. But that's going into another Michael Jordan story, but we don't say that one because that's pretty good too. After all of this was, done, they went through a whole different change, as far as the Bulls were concerned, personnel that came in. Michael trusted that Jerry would do his job. And Phil was very instrumental in making sure that the Krauses knew where Michael stood, you know. And Phil was such a great person, individual coach. Like, he treated everybody as individuals. So he knew everyone had different personalities instead of just saying, like, it's all the team. You know, we're all a team and this and that. This is the way we're going to do it. That's Doug. That's not Phil. Phil treats you as an individual, and that works for the Bulls. That works for Michael Jordan. Because now Michael Jordan he's free to do the things that he needs to do to keep everything in line. So, with that being said, Jerry Reinsdorf said, okay, here's the thing. We're bringing Michael back into the game. Michael's going to play baseball when Michael retired in 93. They tried to talk Michael, just take some time off, think about this decision. But with everything going on, Michael had made his mind up. So Jerry's was okay. Jerry's was like, all right, well, we don't want to lose contact with Michael in case Michael wants to come back. I tell you what, let's go ahead and keep them close. What you want to do? Play baseball? You're going to play for the White Sox. I'll put you in spring training. So Mike started playing in spring training. Reinsdorf put him in there, and he was grateful for Reinsdorf for doing that. Everything was good. Then when the baseball strike happened, Michael Jordan was coming back. And now, before Mike can get on the court, there was something that had to be done. Something that was going to have to be worked out. So Mike came back to finish the season when he came back to play for the Bulls, because the Bulls still had him under contract. So after the end of this year, some things are going to have to be worked out in order for Michael Jordan to come back and play. Michael wanted $50 million a season, the Larry Bird rule. Reinsdorf thought this was preposterous. What? 50? No player is worth this amount of money. $50 million. It's insane. Now, the Chicago Bulls' net worth when they had Michael Jordan was nowhere near it was when Michael Jordan had won the 3 championships, and what he done for the sports. Brought Gatorade in when Coca-Cola was the main. No one really even heard of Gatorade too much, really, especially in the program, until Mike made the commercial Be Like Mike. It was insane. It was insane. I think they were worth, the Chicago Bulls in 1985, they was worth like $281 million. So for $281 million, I think you would have been able to afford the Chicago Bulls. Okay. Now, as far as where they are now, they are like one of the top earning franchises out there, worth billions. Billions. And I want to say the team was paid for In 1985, when Reinsdorf bought it, when Jordan came in, he paid $16 million. Now the company's worth about a couple billion. So Michael Jordan turned this into a $1 billion franchise, and you tell him he isn't worth $50 million. You tell him he isn't worth $50 million a year. The whole league owes him money. This is Michael Jordan. He brought billions into the NBA. Billions. Still to this day, he's been retired for over 20 years and he still generates more money. That's how great his legacy was and what he brought as far as market value. The man brought in billions, and you insult him by telling him he isn't worth $50 million a year as he cuts the check. Now, for tax reasons, Michael only got 35, but it was supposed to be for 50. But for taxes, it comes down to like 30-something million. So that's what he got in his deal, in his $50 million deal. They took his taxes out up front. So Michael was paid his $36 million after they took the taxes. So for the last 3 years, he got 50 million, 50 million, 50 million, which was a steal. Now, this left a bad taste in Michael's mouth because it made Michael say, I should ask for more. I should ask for 75 million because he was disgusted with Jerry Reinsdorf. And this is when he realized it's not just Krause. It's Reinsdorf and Krause. They just working together. Now, as they're playing and they're picking up personnel, Phil is having a say, more of a say of who would fit the system that the Bulls are running. Phil was very good at mentally being able to be calm and have these discussions. And they were very vital. So Phil would calmly explain to the Jerrys that this player would fit with us and they could fit the system. They know the system that we're running and it would be very successful. That's how they was able to get players like Steve Kerr on the team, Ron Harper, and last but not least, Dennis Rodman. Dennis came in. They learned the system. He was familiar with Tex Winter's system because in Detroit, they ran the double X. You know, that's the play that was designed, a system that was designed by Tex Winter. They ran that. So he was very familiar. Learning the triangle for Dennis wasn't hard at all. And he was the most incredible athlete that Phil had ever seen. No one had ever seen nothing like Dennis Rodman. And this is playing with Michael Jordan. He was more athletic than Michael. So that tells you something. He was incredible. So at this point, the Bulls were made. Jerry, all he had to do was close the deal on signing Dennis Rodman, which they really didn't want to do. But Phil kind of pushed that through. But he wanted the team to get the approval of Dennis before, they go ahead and make that decision. So Phil made that call. Going into those final 3 years of 84, 85, and 86. 94, 95, and 96. 96, 97, 98. My fault. Yeah, that's it. 96, 97, 98. So there it was. Now, for those 3 years, This was the final straw with Michael and Jerry Krause. Michael is at the point where he knows everybody's contract's up. Scotty's unhappy. He hasn't been paid. They kept lying, selling every year. Oh, we're working on Scotty and keeping Scotty on the team. And Michael said, you know, they were trying to trade Scotty because they never wanted to pay him. Michael said, look, one of the conditions I got is that B.J. Armstrong and Scottie Pippen stay. And after the year in '95 when they lost, they got rid of B.J. And it drove them insane. You know, it drove, you know, Michael and BJ were like brothers. So for them to to lose BJ and then picked up Ron Harper, that was actually the better thing for the team. But he was disgusted. Like BJ was very upset because he thought he was never getting traded from the Bulls. Then the championships go down and the season's coming to an end. This is the last hurrah, whatever they want to call it. Everybody is, you know, Phil wrote a book about it already, The Last Ride or whatever. And Michael just not believing this is going to end. He thinks at the end, this is going to get worked out. Dennis is coming back. We're going to come back. We're going to keep this going. It's going to work itself out. So it's bad now, but the Bulls were done with Phil. Phil was done with them. They didn't like Phil. They felt Phil became more arrogant as he won championships, meaning that he wasn't the yes man he was when the Reinsdorf and Krause and them found him. He wasn't towing the line. Now this is going to get expensive for the Bulls. They have to pay Michael, which has already got an expensive contract. They got Scotty down, who's up for a new contract. They have to pay Dennis Rodman now. His time's up. And then you got to pay the head coach. Rather than do all that, the Reinsdorf and the Krause realized it's better to just start from scratch. We won enough championships. So rather than defend the crown and have someone dethrone them, we never got to see that. We never got a chance to see the Bulls dethroned, actually. We got all replaced players as Scotty left, Jordan left, Rodman left, and Phil left. It's game over. Michael expected it from Krause, who he despised because you ruined it for him. Like, you ruined it. Like, this could have been our shot. You know, we could have continued. Who knows how many we could have won in a row. You know, we wanted to see. Maybe we could have got 6 in a row. Maybe we could have got 7 in a row. We'll never know. And he said, you ruined it, and it wouldn't have cost that much to bring everybody back. That's what made it despicable to him, is that it wasn't even going to cost that much to, like, bring everybody back. He's like, only person you really had to pay through the nose is me and Scotty. Phil left because of the disrespect. You know, that underhandment that they were doing, like, you're just a coach, don't expand, don't try to do anything more than just coach the team. You know, we run the show, and that kind of behavior didn't flow well with Phil. Not when he got to the stature where he felt like, look, I can hold my own now. So those became a bit of a problem where the Jerrys wanted to start over because they thinking less costly. Okay, we won enough championships. Everybody leave. We can build all over from scratch and make another team and go on another run. And I think everything is at a time now where everything can go, you know, and shut down because people had already bought season tickets for next season. And it came all the way to like a final decision for even Mike to say, you know, I'm gonna make my second retirement announcement. And at that time, he was so disgusted with Jerry Krause. He was like, he thanked the Bulls organization and everything, but he was disgusted with Jerry. So, you know, had he ruined this, you know, and he's like, Phil didn't want to leave, really. You know, he just wanted to respect and be treated as an adult. And sometimes it just isn't going to happen with everybody. Now, Michael said a very, you know, we all remember what Mike said about Jerry Krause in his retirement speech, but he was able to say some nice words about Jerry after Jerry Krause passed away. So much respect to Mike in that sense, you know, and rest in peace to our boy, you know, Jerry Krause. He made some good decisions, y'all. He made it to the Hall of Fame, you know, so that's always an honor. And that's that. So definitely, if you like everything you hear, click the link in the description box. Leave us a donation. Leave us an email and tell us what you like about the video and what you didn't like. And that's the beef between Michael Jordan and the two Jerrys. I'm out.